that's a few pieces of advice around the portfolio. I think you kind of all know it, but then I've said it and we have discussed it. And if things you don't agree with here, it's fine. Maybe tell me so if you have suggestions or whatever. But it's an initial feedback structure, and it's not a structure. It's more about a kind of portfolio. Keep in mind, this material is going to be kind of slightly reformatted and go together with some discussion examples we're going to have next week. So in a way, I'm going to kind of format it here, but I want to say some advice around portfolio. So portfolio structures. One, first, start in time. When is the best time to start your portfolio? Start planning your portfolio.
I don't think it's mine. I didn't take the pictures.
Start an empty mock-up portfolio. How many pages is the portfolio then? 50, yeah, exactly. Start an empty mock-up portfolio early to give you good time to plan and refine the content. Don't wait until all is done. The project don't have to be finished. Start as a kind of mock-up. It's not even an aesthetic thing. It's about finding gaps here. With other words, you might add page headings. I know, Saya, we talked about that before. What the topic of each sheet is to your mind. And you know, some of the topics might not be particularly logical. You don't have to kind of answer a question for my sake, but it's more how you focus material. How does it fit together within itself, within its own context? For example, it might be post-it notes. So add headings. It might just be post-it notes. What you feel is critical where. You know, the portfolio is a kind of journey, and it might be a very individual journey. It might be a journey that is about glimpses into things. It might be a journey that connects very clearly from sheet to sheet. Or it might be journeys that kind of small journeys that start to interlace. Yeah. So these journeys between are just how they talk to each other. You don't have to build a kind of. It doesn't have to be an illustrated kind of sequence that is finished, but you lead people through looking at the material, and it will be a starting moment of looking at the portfolio in some shape or form. If it's time-based, if it's physically based, it still starts. A bit like a movie. At some point it starts. Even if it was an ongoing movie, you would still go in somewhere and start watching it, or hearing it, or experiencing it. It's the same with this. By starting to structure that.
Inspired.
Fit in pieces you have, things you already have done, or that are there that you can touch, or you can see, or you can grab digitally. Put those in, and perhaps put in dummy pages for things that you just about. Maybe it's just a thing like that, you know, that are sitting on one page. Maybe that's what it needs to be sometimes. Or a newspaper clip, or a piece of your own writing from, you know, journal or report or anything you have been working with, or diary. You might just put something in that. Maybe this is something this page is about, yeah. So to see what and where, both what might be missing or what might get stronger and where it might get stronger, to find those, filling those gaps, so you can plan ahead what to expand on, what you might have to source, what you might have to produce.
What we did when I have to look at my page, I said, I feel like there's some paper that has to be there to connect between the research and what you did.
For example,
like
yeah, exactly.
the list that you
Yeah, otherwise the gap might be too long for people to follow. And it's not everything don't have to be followable and equal completely, but you will get a much better sense of what's not there if you see it. You know the old artist Mondrian, Piet Mondrian, he was famous for having his studio. He was hanging his paintings up, and he suddenly decided, oh, he's going to have a red square in the ceiling there, or a yellow field there that have to do with this painting. Maybe the painting needs to be there, maybe it needs to be there, maybe here, maybe there. And he tried a lot. And the studio was all because he produced new pieces of art that he put in his studio, or he maybe sold or gave away, or other pieces of art disappeared. Then he also changed the studio. So the studio actually was repainted to work contextually and it constantly move things around, cut out pieces of paper, painting, whatever it was. This also uses the portfolio as a very useful tool to help you overview and discover your own creative output. You know, it's very hard to see what you're doing until you lay it out and what you haven't done. And it's, you know, it's a fair long journey we have had this year. You know, this is the final ready project, but in reality, of course, it links to your thoughts, what you have started, what you have worked on before. It might be that something comes in as a stop-in moment or standing moment, or how do we do a reference back to something we saw, you know, in earlier cycles.
And your view on this would be
is
quite
that something
interesting
that has
because
fit in?
there's
So to get to know your
lots of
own way of
recollections
working or
here, there's lots
thinking.
of memories.
So it's
of
also like a
visits,
tool.
there's lots of memories
And
of an
share your
afternoon.
portfolio as it
There's lots of
develops.
photographs of friends.
You know, show friends.
But what's the difference
or bring it
between
to the
photographs
forums.
of friends
Uh,
and then
And
research?
because quite often others, when you look from the outside, when you're in the middle of the process, it's very easy to get a bit home blind. You don't see so clearly any longer how it
What was the name of
communicates
the,
what you're doing,
um,
as other people see. When they look at something a bit more fresh,
the
they
name
suddenly
of
look, wait,
the
oh, this is
author
really
or
interesting, but
writer?
what happened there? So it's really worthwhile
Do you
sharing.
remember?
It's not, and for my sake, I'm not marking a portfolio. Hugh doesn't, nobody here, nobody at the university will mark a portfolio on kind of surprise value. You know what I mean? It's not like people that I know, I don't think you in this, that we are, you in the room here now are thinking like that, but some students think that if I just hold everything back and I at the end go like, then suddenly the higher mark, and that's of course isn't the case. Often you end up the other way around with people just getting a bit confused and things are not structured enough. So in a way, you know, we look at the final submission.
Where did you find that?
And we always have to think about this as somebody who has never seen it before, somebody who never had a conversation, somebody who doesn't know you, don't know your interest, don't know your references, anything like that, more than, you know, of course, might know a kind of generic kind of cultural field interest within a UK context or a world context. You know, that would probably be the main references for somebody for the first time looking at the work. So we kind of talked about it a little bit, but I go back to narrative. Lead the viewer through a considered journey.
Yes,
And,
so it's
and
a
again,
cycle-
it doesn't have to be a kind of first I did this,
cycle
second I did this, third I did this, or this is specific story about something, but it might be an intellectual journey, it might be a logical journey, it might be visual or experimental journey. You know, you decide what that journey might be, but it is, you know, it moves through from first starting looking to the end in some shape or form. You can very much control how they understand your ideas and work.
It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Think about it. Your ideas of work. It's not just like, here, this, I've done this, blurb, and I leave it to other people. I might have done that a bit like a student myself, to be honest, early on. And I thought, if I just done loads and loads of work that I think is good, I just kind of, then that's it. It should explain itself. I just put everything in front of somebody else, and they should just understand it. And it's not necessarily that easy. You know, the inroads and the references and the, like in mathematics, the kind of equations. How do we reach, you know, 2 + 2 is 4? Prove it. You know, and then we, you know, in a way, we don't need to prove it in this way, but we need to invite people to see your thinking to the degree. You don't have to, it's not about writing
writes
everything
primarily
down,
in
like
French.
the visual and graphic
So we might
ways
have to,
of communicating that. And as I
send
said,
the question over
structural
to,
ways of working with that in the narrative.
France.
Order of how individual projects
French-
make sense
French
together. And it doesn't, you know, they don't
They're not,
have
yeah,
to
they're
be in
not,
chronology.
they're not
They might,
they're not translated into
if
English, they're
cleverly
translated into
laid out,
French.
it might be
As the face,
quite
this one, Sherlock
floating
Holmes was
into
wrong.
relation, but how
I don't
do you
know,
order,
I don't know which
you know,
one.
how things have come to
What's
be?
what's the kind of,
When, you know, maybe the last thing you did, or the
Oh,
final
yeah, yeah, yeah,
piece,
so
not
that's,
necessarily the final piece in the portfolio, that might be another way.
yeah, how to,
And
how to,
order
yeah,
of
how to
project
talk about what you haven't
development
read.
might be
Yeah,
then,
that's right.
because
That's exactly
we want
right.
to know
Word for
about
word.
project
It's what I've just
development, we
read.
want to
What
know
I've just
about
read,
your
ironically.
thoughts, your
How-
processes,
How to
the
talk
way
about,
you
no,
have kind of
I've just read the title on my phone, no.
No,
How to
that's,
talk
the
about
report
books
is
you
about
read on
writing
your
about
phone.
it, but think about visually the portfolio.
How to
It's not, it's not about, we shouldn't have the report to read to be able to understand the portfolio. the report is about you reflecting on getting there, but a portfolio should be a self, supporting piece. It might be that you don't need to write very much in the portfolio
Very exciting.
about,
I like getting
I did this because I was thinking this, and then I did that, and I
Yes,
experimented.
yes.
Yeah, maybe we don't need so much of that because that can go in the report. Yeah. So the portfolio can be more visual, but it's still the order of product development. But we talk about
That's what I would
journey
do.
of
I
your
would
discovery,
buy it
the
on-
making processes. I mean, this is just examples.
I'd buy it on
Increasing
Amazon, get it
clarity
to my
and
house,
focus on
I'd put it
increased
somewhere, and
clarity.
I'd forget about it, and then somebody would ask me for it, and I'd bring it, and I'd put it there.
Gradually, something that seems quite
And then they would just
small,
stay there for a
perhaps,
while.
growing
And then I'd do another one.
in your,
The
while
next
you're
process, the
processing
next
it,
one.
while you're doing experiments,
Um,
while you're thinking
so
about
we're
it,
all
discussing
doing
it,
the-
learn more about it, it grows into something.
Oh, yes.
So in a way that, and how you refine, what do you refine out? How can we see that you have looked
Works
and looked
just as
again
well on
and
the screen.
processed and worked with and reflected on work you've done yourself? With other words, some things maybe becomes another portfolio another time. Something maybe isn't so important any longer as it seemed in the beginning, and that's fine. Remember, you're not proving that you're some kind of linear robot thinker. Start there, end there. The journey has to be. It's a lot about how you process stuff. How does it matter to you? What decisions do you make? And as we have talked about before, for me, if this year, if the only thing you get out of it from a creative point of view is that you start to get to know your own way of thinking, and that's in the portfolio, that's the main thing for me. We are not giving you saying you have to design,
Everything
a
to be honest,
pizza
but,
menu or an exhibition or it doesn't work like that. We don't give you a task and say you have to meet those criteria, otherwise you fail. We are much more interested in how do you process your own way of thinking? How do you control how you communicate to other people and yourself? How do you reflect and refine how you communicate to your own thinking?
painting I've
For
ever
us, that's
seen.
much more important, because that will help you much more than if you design, we could go here and we can do architecture, and I could show you any architectural detail you want, and we could talk to you about, graphic design.
Yeah,
and
we
stuff,
totally
but
do.
that's it's not the way you
an
work
example
on master level. I think firstly, you're much more
access to
self-directed,
light.
and we support you in the kind of
Very
controlling
rarely
that.
do you see
So,
paintings
and
looking at
way of thinking around narrative
light through
teach your
tabs.
viewer to want to see
And I
more,
think this for lots
perhaps
of us.
gradually
we
building up
think
to
about our
special
projects
moment or pieces that are then
by
followed
thinking
by
about
quieter
what they are
moments
not.
to then
as
start
much
to
as
build
what
up
they-
again.
what they are.
Think
It was
of
quite
big sea
important.
waves building up.
But it's also,
It's a way of perhaps looking at the portfolio
You-
as this
you-
kind of journey, and you
you've
end up
done something quite interesting with the framing.
space out those kind of
Don't you think
moments
so?
where it's real big insights
Because I
or
use
really
pencil.
Yeah, I
literally
think
central
there's
pieces.
also like a,
You know,
there's
you
also
don't
a,
brand
Because
them all
I
together
can
at the
crop
end.
it anytime.
Go through a long
there's also
portfolio,
a sort of a
incredibly
heavy
boring and
band
very
here, which
gradual,
does
nothing
remind me
happens.
of those,
And then at the end you got a boom,
Polaroids,
like
you know,
five
that sort of
pieces that
thing.
are
And
all of
also
them
look
kind
at
of
feel
hit
the
you in the
light
face a bit, and
coming
they're amazing. That
the
would be a
wall.
very, but it might be that
Now,
you're gradually building up and
like a
saying this was a
we're just-
conclusive or
we're
a
just
kind of
looking
particular moment in
in
my
our lives,
journey,
you know,
how it worked. And now
you don't really get a
you
chance
kind
to
of
sit
take that in a
around
bit, but it's a little bit quite
with authority to say,
ways
I'm just
of
looking at
and you
the
start
colour of a wall.
it's one way of
That's what
looking at
we're
picking
doing.
up a
That's the lesson.
advice.
The colour of that wall feels different in this room
with.
to what it was in the gallery. It feels lighter.
Yeah, some of
feels
it
red.
is very technical and very simple.
There's a,
And we
there's a
look
I'm really glad you.
quality of
you-
images,
because
resolution.
my memory of
avoid-
that
this
gallery
is
wall was
most people
white.
hold it up, but
Yes.
anyway,
This photograph,
yeah,
this
but
wall,
it's just
it
everything
captures
anyway. Resolution,
and it gives
avoid
the tint
fussy
of the wall,
pixelated
the shade
visuals.
of the wall. It goes like
If you're not
red.
working with that specifically, how?
Which is
You know, you
then-
might work with pixelation.
So,
then it's
yeah,
not
so
important,
what
but,
red?
control those. Yeah. Yet make sure they are not
Yeah,
too
but
heavy
my
in
original
comparison.
picture
And
from
remember, you
my
can still
iPad
press
is
the
in
PowerPoint
shades of
presentation.
white.
Can you see that there's the white?
Yeah,
in this case,
absolutely.
we are
So
not
there's
using
the
a
white,
PowerPoint
the
portfolio,
sort of,
it might be worth
the
it.
lighter,
But you
and
can
then this
compress
is
all
the
the images in the
really
PowerPoint, and it just
yeah,
goes from
absolutely. And
massive
because
to
the
smaller, and
now
it's
are
a
they
very easy
mushrooms?
process. Consider
What are they?
color, hue, tone, and contrast. For accuracy of original is one thing. If you show your own work that you know painted or graphically exists, how is that communicated in your portfolio format? But also other people's work perhaps. But and to consider hue, tone, contrast for accuracy to original, but also clarity of content.
You have
You know,
the capacity
if
to
things are
give your things
and
names.
balance between images.
And
If
that's a
things
very
are
powerful
very
thing to do.
unbalanced, suddenly you see this
And
kind
I
of
think
very
we've got
sharp dark
two
blocks,
moments where
or they might be, you know,
we
have a
started
particular color palette, then
the
other ones
project
are suddenly
with
bringing,
untitled
jumping out on you
mushrooms,
together. So
question mark.
it's something about
We
the composition
ended
on page,
at
and
Phoenix,
perhaps gradual
where
movement through the portfolio.
foods
If you're not
were
going for that
labeled,
kind of shock effect,
the
because you
recipes
can
were
blur that.
labeled, the
It's
ingredients
not that you
were
have
labeled.
to
Yeah.
match
So there's-
everything, but
there's kind
consider
of
what
a-
it means when
there's
we
kind of
look
thinking
outside,
there
when
about
all things
the
jumping
information
out,
in your
when
work.
are they falling back? Does it
Communication in
help
your-
us to
in your
see, compare
Are you
things,
somebody
or
that's
what level do we
producing
compare to
untitled?
images? Are we comparing
Or are you
content, or are we
titled?
comparing quality? Or are we
If they are
comparing
mushrooms,
intensity? You know,
then
in a way, you have to
let's
control
say
that, or you have to
mushrooms.
consider that, how you,
You might even say mushrooms.
for example,
question mark.
But it wasn't important.
black and white, for example, sometimes emphasize form, volume, and texture better than strong color images. We know that, and it might be that
Very
the
good point,
same
very good
images
point.
are existing in black and white and color.
All
In
about
certain
it.
aspects
All
of
about
the
it.
character. You know, you can repeat things. I think sometimes we feel that just because it happened once in the portfolio, it can never happen again. No, it can, because it can reference, or it
Serene
can
made a
zoom
really
in,
good
or it
point
can
there.
identify, or give another level
Meditating
of
on
information. Yeah.
information
And
and how
so,
useful
and
information is.
one final one
in
here
terms of us
of the
understanding
image itself, and as I said, it's not
the purpose of an art.
the full list by any sense, but distortion happens so often in portfolios, which drives me mad, and it looks rubbish. Don't distort images. Don't squash them. It's quite easy done. It's a bit better now. Now they
How does it relate-
most
how does this
programs
image relate to
automatically
your-
allow you to rescale rather than distort.
Your project.
15,
How your
even
work
5
might
years
be
ago, they wouldn't do that. They would
How
first
things come
distort, and then you have
together.
to hold down certain buttons to make them just scale. And loads of work I've seen have been squashed and stretched, and you know, both your own work and referential work or photographs, and it looks absolutely dreadful. It kind of distracts you from looking inside. I mean, for me, it's just like, whoa, it jumps out in front of my face because it's so annoying. You know, if you want to do something with it, you have to do something properly with it. You know, then you really have to make sure that we know what you're doing, and it has to be properly processed. But avoid
Yeah, if I've
distortion
learned
at
anything
any,
this
you know.
afternoon, it's the power of
Don't try to
expression.
fit photographs in
Because that's
or
something that we
to
might
fit
want to
the
use in our
page,
work.
page in shape and distort them to do that.
Where we are,
Then you have to
yeah,
think
we're
about
asking
or balancing
the
or how to
purpose
play
of
down.
something. And
And
also,
it does happen.
with this,
So that
Think
little
about-
bit image,
think
text.
about the last meeting
Remember,
we had.
stick to clean, easy to read
This morning, lunchtime,
typefaces.
last night.
You know, I mean,
depending on
it's
how
up
long
to
you
you
go
choose
between
whatever you
meals, I
want,
don't
and
know.
it might be very much part of the
Think about
project
that
that
meal, and think about
it looks
how-
like that, but
think about how memorable
usually
it was.
not. Usually the
Think
text
about
is
what it
supposed
would
to
be
be
like to picture that
subordinate to your
Think about
visuals.
pictures of
It's supposed to
meals
support us to
over
pick
days,
up certain aspects
over
of
weeks,
visuals.
over months.
And avoid, and this
What might
happens
make this
surprisingly
program
often
of
even
mushrooms
for
question
most
mark
students, avoid
stand
using
out?
more than
Why is this
3,
program
maybe max,
in this moment?
2, maybe max 3 typefaces. And because
That's the-
lots
that's
of
the
students,
question.
international students,
But also, if you
don't
think about what
use
we,
the kind of
we
Greek
have
alphabet
in
at home as their
the history of
first alphabet.
art, the history of
For example, if
design,
you come from China
is
or from, you know,
our
Arabic
subjects of
writing and so on,
painting,
Arabic writing is
not
completely different.
usually,
It's actually, I've
About
discovered over the years that
mushrooms.
it's even students that are
That's
very
quite
careful with how they draw, how they do
low
things,
down.
don't actually see the
So what are
difference
we
between the
doing with our
typefaces
focus?
in a way that me
What are we
or
doing?
Hugh or Chris,
Helping
who is
those
used to this
that
alphabet, see them. So for us,
don't
the
need help?
difference between Jill
Or we're
Sands
applying our design
and
and our
Arial
creative
is
skills
huge. We see that
helping those
absolutely
that
straight
benefit
away.
the most.
For you, I couldn't tell you if
The
it was
humble
written in traditional
mushroom.
Chinese. I had no idea. I could not tell the difference. I could say it's a bit larger, smaller, fatter. Is it any more difference? I couldn't. So use the function in the program to double check. You know, if you do Control A, means everything. You can check what typeface it is, that it's the same. Yeah. So it's just a piece of advice because I've realized that can be
Celebrate the
hard, and I'm not
periphery,
saying you have to be
celebrate
expert, but it can. It kind of
celebrate the
distracts
edges.
from. You might use bold, you
What
might
are the
use
edges
a
of
bit
your
smaller
work?
or larger, of course.
That's
Use
a little,
less text
little,
and smaller rather
that's
than
one
larger
photograph.
letters. Often
If we do that for all of them,
text
then
is
we,
too big,
oh,
especially if it's printed out. They end up like
who's this?
you know, in reality,
Yeah,
the
me.
text don't need to be larger just because you have a larger page.
We need
Rather
volume?
opposite. You know, the text should be there to support. Think about the visuals, your own visual material is what
To me, you are
and I give a
one step
little
ahead of
small
me.
guidance here. Consider size depending on how it's supposed to be viewed. Yeah. For example, printed might be 10 to 12 points.
Right, let's go again, right? Let's go again.
For
Is this-
main
is the
text
sound-
and headings larger, that's fine. Even if it's a large page, we don't suddenly have to have like huge text here. One thing is when you write a note on the door saying you're late, but in the portfolio you want us to see the visuals first, and the text is there quite.
Yeah, this is where you were sort of unsupervised as the lesson
Even if it's a
finished.
large page, I can equally
You were on your
well
own.
read 10 to 12 points, even if it's on an A1 or an A4, no different. Screen, 16 points perhaps. We're used to looking at the computer screen, it needs to everything goes forward. And of course, in reality, that affects images too. If you're really formal about it, you can make sure that images are balanced to see on screen,
John,
or
as it's
people
your-
are
as it's your
actively
video,
supposed to
Yeah.
enlarge
Can you turn the
and
video into
roam
a
over the
screenshot
pages,
for
but
us?
that's
Quite
A
tiny.
screenshot?
Just tell me
way
when
of
to
work
stop.
on
Okay.
project.
Just tell me when
You
to
have
stop.
to
Which
decide
is
if you want to lead
when
people
is
into
the
Just tell me the
a kind of
time.
Well, which
screen
for
journey
you? I want you to-
into
where's the interest for you?
But then that
The,
has to be very,
the
very
entire
careful.
atmosphere, and
How
I
much
want
work
to
that is. If
record
that's
the
50
day
pages,
we're
I'm not
here.
going to sit there like.
So this is the register then? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Around, you know, you don't do that. You look at the screen, boom, 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 boom. And for example, in a PowerPoint like here, you might have 20 points because the people at the back of the room won't see what it says.
They were here.
It happens all the time, including staff things that
So
I've
what
seen
was
lots
our-
of times. And you sit at the back and you think, I have no idea what they're like.
Caravan.
So, you know, then that's what.
Oh, no.
A permanent marker.
No,
And
it's not.
I remember images, photographs,
Caravan.
quality before quantity of photographs.
Sarah.
Support visuals. If generated by hand,
The
which
caravan
happens often
was
enough,
is
and that's
Right,
good, it's no problem.
convoy.
Support visual, I call it
Convoy
automate
caravan,
pieces.
so like a
If
collection
generated
of
by hand,
caravans.
small sketches from your
Do we know,
sketchbook, from
Ray,
notes,
what are
whatever
we
you're
thinking
doing.
about when we think about
Scan
caravan?
these rather than photograph, please.
Camping,
It's,
yeah.
again, it happens
David, do you know
surprisingly often
what
that people photograph
caravan?
and they go a bit grey and a bit
Okay.
distorted and you make them smaller and it just disappears.
Camping car?
And you
Yeah.
off it from a white page. If you take
Exactly,
a
so
photograph, of course, you will
it's
see
about
the whole page, and
moving
this
and
will be a
living at the same
grey,
time. Moving from one
faded
place
feel,
to
or a
the
bit
next.
yellow at the top and a
Taking
bit
your
of
home with
grey
you,
at the
absolutely.
bottom.
Home
Then
on
you try to
wheels,
fit it
okay.
in on the page,
And
and
they have a
suddenly you have
lot
this
of-
kind of
like if you
irritating
imagine, like,
rectangle around
You know,
maybe
the
a very nice
circus,
sketch. That
we know,
we
you know
look
the
at
circus,
more
that's
than
moving
what-
entertainment.
because it
It's
kind of
quite
sits on
a-
the page and you have to decide
It's quite
how do you
old
copy it.
fashioned now,
While
but that's what
something
this is
that is
trying to
scanned, of course, you
create
can
for
cut
us,
it out. You can
is the
cut
sense
out
that we're
exactly the
inside
shape,
some
white background, and just
temporary
blend it in nicely, and
home
it just
on
sits
wheels,
there as a
which is
lovely
also
piece that you
entertainment.
see on it.
Mobile home.
Mobile home,
so,
yeah, absolutely.
Diagrams.
So, you know,
If
it
you do
doesn't take us
diagrams,
very
maybe
long
a bit more
to
architectural,
think
but
about
if you
how
do diagrams, then
this
of course
might
you can in all
have
cases.
affected your project in
Diagrams,
some way.
make them simple, equally
And
sized
John,
and
you said you want to
orientated
capture
for
the sort of
easy
atmosphere. What was the atmosphere like for those you
comparison.
remember? Let's see
So,
what we've got here. We've got
probably a bit more architectural, but if you do
Boris is
diagrams,
there,
People
amazing.
moving
do
to
something,
up
you know,
there.
how the idea
Boris,
evolves,
what was your
shape
feeling of the
you know,
of the
trying to make,
that
you know,
moment?
make sure that they have a kind of
This,
scaling and relationship
be
that are
honest,
similar.
be honest, right? Be honest, the situation. Okay, so
You're excited.
basically I
Get it.
step on like
Yeah.
a dog poop, you know,
Yeah.
every time so I was focusing on my shoes, like, you have no feeling. I was focusing on my shoes the whole time. And it's just walk
Yeah,
on
I just
it,
walk on
shoes
shoes.
like 3 days or something. I just step on my shoes. I was so sad.
Okay, that's quite different. Okay, I do.
Well, but I like it though.
Well,
So,
diagrams,
the atmosphere is
that shape.
nice.
Where are you within that episode now?
Volume diagrams.
in this image? As
here,
it
very
happened?
architectural.
Is it about to
You
happen?
can
It's
use
already
key plans
happened.
as
I stepped outside, I keep following them, and I tried to brush my shoes the whole time.
So this is like
Let's say I'm
this
doing
is a sort of arena
doing
that's supposed to be
something
about
in this area.
entertainment and
Okay.
excitement
I'll
and
move the map.
cabaret and
First
everything.
of all, here,
You as you walk in with such an awful thing.
if
You
that
remember
repeats
the
on
last time
several
you
pages,
that happened to
keep
you
the orientation
individually.
the same way, keep
You
the scale the
changes your whole
same,
mood.
keep it in the
Yeah,
same
perfect.
way.
So the question is, when you think about
Edit it,
architecture,
make clear what they're focused on. As I
it
said,
doesn't
you know,
matter.
if you have a
If
painting
you're having a
sketch,
day where you've
you
just
know,
stepped in
if
dog shit,
Yeah.
it could be the best building ever.
these
Could be the
or
best
this
part of
one,
the festival ever.
edit it down.
So that's kind of like
Instead of
what comes
assuming
first
that you
then,
know what
the
you're
event, the
Uh,
human.
make sure
Yeah.
An interesting thing.
third party
Um,
material. and
May,
this
were
is
you okay
really
with
important.
sort of
And
not
I know
stepping on
you
anything?
have
You were all right?
I've seen it
Okay.
in
So how were you feeling at this time?
almost everybody's portfolio.
Obviously concerned about forest.
Oh, it was
You didn't see yourself there.
Otherwise, others projects, other ideas.
You were
other ideas.
yeah,
Referencing,
you know,
make sure always, always,
okay, you know, actually, it's like, I normally wear like white shoes every day, but I don't know why last week I wore black. It's because I know that you're gonna bring us
no
out.
problem, of course, it's no problem
Right.
at all, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't have to brush my shoe like.
Yeah.
It's already black.
So, you, so your response to the sort of arena,
We do like the citation and
thinking
then
with your
the link,
the
or
sort of
like
mental health
only the citation. Like this is I bring it along.
aspect.
You
How did the environment
the
affect
name
your?
or like
Generally, you do the kind of Harvard style, but that's quite literature. But
At
I
this moment,
don't
you're
think it's a
looking
problem
away.
having links if you
from,
want, but only links.
Can I be honest with you, really?
Well, I think so.
Basically
Yeah,
You wanted to
Looking,
You want
oh,
to
have
go?
click on this link.
I
have to do
was, yeah, I was looking for a book actually. Yeah, I was looking for a book.
Yeah, or
I
if you have
spoke to
vision
Boris, right?
there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, I'm
You know,
perfect.
where
I
does it
do, and I
You can
start
do it under, you can
looking
do it at the
around.
end, you can choose.
What can I
It's
steal
good.
actually? Yeah, steal from others. You know, because I was
You
really.
can have, you can choose, you can choose.
Yeah. I was
Fig
looking for
one,
this
fig
stuff.
two, fig
So
three.
when
You
you
know,
get a
like
wow,
fig
you
one,
can
fig
capture
one, fig
it.
two,
It
fig
was
three.
really-
You often
yeah.
have in
Okay,
books or in reports, and basically,
So,
it might be in
we
reality that
haven't-
you have, you know, you
we
have
ha-
50 pages
we
of
haven't
portfolio,
done
and
our
it
2
might be,
pages yet.
you know,
And
7
whether we,
images.
in
That
our
is
2
from
pages of
somebody
our
else.
research,
So
whether we
it's
talk
easy
about
writing 1, 2, 3 on
stepping
those, or
uh,
ABC,
dog
and at the
excrement
end they come up if you
or
want.
stealing food, that's up to us. But this was at the end of the day because, well, I think our friend kind of
Yeah.
encouraged us to go inside, and it was also something that, I don't know, it was kind of there at the end. It was outside. It was a collection of buildings, and yeah, maybe it wasn't as exciting, but
Yeah,
it's still useful to think about.
you don't have to have a
Okay,
link, that's what I'm
let's have a
saying,
think about-
only a link
You're
isn't enough.
looking.
You can have it
Somewhere.
and, but you can, to only have a link will be very kind of tedious to sit there and, okay, now I'm gonna check the book that Boris or whoever is kind of referring to. Is it really that book or is it not that book? I will follow the link and I end up on Wikipedia, do you know what I mean? That's not, it's more important that it gives a sense of where.
That's what
It looks like something like yeah, drawn or yeah, something. She's sitting here just like a queen, just sitting here. And we are all laughing, just like.
Yeah, for example, let's say you
Sort
told
of late into
Le
the
Corbusier,
visit.
Okay.
yeah,
Is this-
I don't
is
want
this
to
immediately
link to a
inside or is it
website
according
that
to
says.
Later on, have
Yeah,
you had a
then it
kind
says
of walk around?
Corbusier, 1943,
It
blah,
feels
blah.
like, it feels
Yeah.
like quick.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it was the
Only
point
a
that
link isn't really,
just
Right.
you know,
sent you.
you know, it's rather the other way around. I rather know what it is and where it comes from.
It's
You
free
know,
entry, so.
Who's involved,
It's
when is
shame
it
you
done,
couldn't
it might be
do
something
it.
to location, that's the kind of main things. Then if you go to, from one
You
website
referred
to
to
another,
that she was
you can
looking,
have that link.
she was
if you
sitting
want,
in
but it's
the-
not, we are not, you know, it's not like they're sitting and double checking
Yeah.
everything. Like
So
I'm not
it's
sitting
like-
going through a whole portfolio like
I mean, the hardest thing with
this.
research is
But
that you end up doing it
What
on
has
your own,
happened,
trying
and
to connect
it has
yourself
happened in
with
this class, so I can
things and
say that
people that aren't
straight
there
away.
with you. And
And
the hardest thing
not
is that it's
necessarily with
easy
the
for me to
people that are sitting in the
talk
room.
to you now,
They never know.
think
But
about what we
it
did last
definitely
week.
has happened
The challenge
here
is how
in the
to-
PM group
How to
that we
record
have
that.
had portfolios
and
coming in with a
how
lot
to
of
record
images,
the-
and I
Oh,
don't
look
know.
at that.
Did you take that?
Oh, that's great.
Is that randomly? It's
That's
not
a great
mine, but I'm
photo.
not pointing.
But how do you capture that?
You know what I mean? I don't actually know. And that makes the following the project, following your thinking, and seeing what you actually have done incredibly hard. So it's not just about being honest and kind of researchy about it, but it's also about that knowing whether your project and not where are you, what have you actually done? Have you just inspirational images you like the look of on the internet, popped it in a book and say that's my portfolio? Well, where's your project? So that's where it comes
So,
from. First
David,
and foremost.
tell us what you I thought, for your research, what do you
But it's not like
Suddenly young girl.
more important. I'd rather see that you
like
put your name
think
and
in
a
the moment
date
I
and a
was
time
thinking about
or a space
first,
on each
what I-
photograph you're taking
just
if it's
fun because
relevant.
like our
My friend's
customer have
photographs,
fun,
for
so I
example,
will capture.
I'd rather see too much than
Personally,
too little.
I was thinking about
So that, for me, yeah, for me that's a critical
major
thing, yeah.
agriculture about
So,
the
anyhow.
we design some place like community
Finally,
space. We have
external
to
materials should
find
always
like
be
a
subordinate.
point to bring people together for capture the moment. So I
Yeah, what
was
does
like
that mean?
writing my keyword
I never heard
like
of
a
it.
Oh,
design
yeah,
for
but you said it
to
perfect.
capture
It sounded
the
like you
moment.
said it.
So,
Subordinate.
not only my design,
What does
but
that
just
mean?
So look like you almost have it on your tongue there. Yeah.
Like under something.
Yes, under something, exactly. It should be less and smaller and supportive. With other words, I don't want to like a massive, oh, this is my inspiration on one page, and then, oh, this is what I've done.
This
There.
character.
You know, I don't want
Like,
the
how does that
other
happen?
people's,
And
you know,
we have one of our
external
characters here,
is
Serene. So
subordinate.
you're
It's
capturing,
there
you're
to
the sort of,
support your
Dave
work.
is the-
It's not that to
the
take
sort of,
over it. It's not
the
that
viewer
to be
of the
photographed
scene.
with Pat
You're
Mahon
also
saying, "Oh,
viewing-
it's so lovely.
You're-
Oh,
and I think you're doing
here
this
I have
like
the
a
wig
sort
in
of
the
selfie
corner.
there.
What could I do with it? You know, and you think, well, that's
it's a bit like, I think we go back, we
so.
we can
things
talk
like
about
that
all of this.
should-
We started with talking about, you know,
subordinate
a tragedy
size
of
and bulk
dog
to
shit on the street,
visual.
right? And then a level above that, we're
Super
thinking about, well,
It might be
you
that
took
somebody
that
here
photograph.
decides to take some very famous poster
There's
or
something that you were doing there
newspaper
with your
cutting
team,
or
unfortunately,
images
so
done by
it'd be quite nice
somebody
to
and
get
you
this out.
cut them up or you change
what
them
were you- what were
or you
you-
work with them, of course,
what
you know,
were you
then
looking
they
at
are
there? Because
part of your work.
The
But it's a
David's
different
comment
thing,
there
it's
is
literally
capturing the
inspirational
moment.
image
Now,
or
we
just
say
a
that a lot,
reference,
so
but
what
it's
was
all
that
the
moment?
supportive
What-
material, so
what-
think about that.
what was-
Yes, so composition of individual pages we get into now. Generally we take in what's on one page from
fancier,
in
it
what
was colorful, she was sitting
How
right
do
in
we
the
look at
middle,
space?
so it's a very
Generally.
nice composition,
She
so
was
I
a
think
thing
like this.
Left.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Left to right, because we read this way, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. That's generally how we take it. So it means we kind of have a feeling that things that happen on the left
I
of
mean,
the
there's,
page.
there's something that Alex, we'll talk to you keen about this, I mentioned.
And if you look at comedy strips and things, you'll find that very often they
Capturing the moment
the
is
speed
really
bubble
interesting.
thing to make sure you read that bubble
You know,
before you read that one. And suddenly
You're
you're
not,
like, oh,
what's interesting,
you know,
guys,
now
is
I
that
understand it. You're-
you went to the exhibition,
Do you generally do
and
that?
there were
So
two
some
ways,
people
at
have
least
to
two ways of
be
doing that.
intended
You
to
went as
see
students,
and know that.
but you also
It
went
has
as
to be
people.
intended. It
Yeah.
might be looked
And
a bit another way.
All of your
But
projects
if you
will be
tell us
seen by
that's
other
wise,
people.
Then we
So it's
kind of
always a
think
loop.
that you're wanting
And the
it to be
hardest thing
Uh,
to do
so intended
is make that
to,
loop as
where's my-
consistent
see
as
before
possible.
something on the right.
So you're not separate, you're not separating,
Consider size
taking
and
an
shape. Generally,
image
we
like
see
this,
the external
and then
shape
you're not
of
putting it in the
the
research journal.
before what the content is.
You're
on
working with your
something
material
on the page, yeah. So
across
avoid distracting
both
viewer by
being
having a lot of shapes
visitor to
and
the
sizes
exhibition
on the same
and a
page
person with
is my
the
advice.
research journal
You can
to
do it if
complete.
you want, but you don't.
That's the really important
So,
thing to
because
recognise.
we have a
Because
tendency of
we can have a
seeing all these
dialogue around
shapes,
whatever
it's just intriguing. It's like we went
you-
to the
you
exhibition
place
now and we
in
saw
your
all these
journal. Look
photographs.
at this.
The first impression
This
we
is
got
what I'm
that
looking
board
at.
with the
Oh,
photographs
wow.
was all the different sizes. And that might be part of the work that we
I don't know what
should
is
put those in
exactly the
thumb.
name, but
We
just,
should
I just
see in a
really
better way.
easy to be
But it-
distracted
that's the
by
problem
something
with
that's
content.
just
I didn't see
no one
any
didn't
content
notice.
until I registered all these sizes of photographs. It's well
Yeah,
controlled.
that's like,
So, number of
Yeah.
images. And here is something
we're
we
looking
talked about.
for
Sorry, I put
something, and we
one
find
image
something.
demands
We-
the
I
viewer
think your,
fully focus. If it's one
this is where the
image on
title
page,
and the
says,
untitled
look at
works
me.
very well.
I'm
You
important.
know, I think this is
Don't
not.
look around
Well, you have
me,
done kind of
paralyzed.
question mark.
Look
But,
at me. And that's what it
I'm-
says
I'm
to
borrowing
people.
your
So in other
style.
words, it demands
So that's
the full
fine. That's fine.
focus of
And
one image.
you spotted something which I think is also like you were saying.
So 2 to 3
Back
images.
to Serene's
Yeah,
comment
start to
about
make
the periphery.
comparison. It forces
You were
us to
caught
not
in
make a
the
judgment.
video, looking
We-
somewhere
It says
up,
we are part of something.
and there
to
you are
compare.
finding something up. Now, you can notice that. You can put that in your research journal. It's something for you to
You-
absorb within your own.
Yeah, but no, we're going to talk. I'm
practice,
going to have a
giving
visual
that
with this for
experience
next week
back
about
someone
this,
else.
about this. But
Maybe
you
we
remember
never-
that, your-
We never look
join
your
my
work
thoughts.
there.
So
Maybe your work
yeah,
is up there.
one image must full focus. 2 to 3
So
images
use
is
those mechanisms
comparison
from
and
your
perhaps choice
research
between them.
as many
You
times
kind
as
of
you
ask
can.
people to choose something.
If they are useful.
And
I'm not
then
saying like
more
make
and
the
more,
cat car and put it
individual
up
images
there.
form
Think about
more
what you're
of a
finding interesting and where you're
subordinate
finding those interesting
part
things.
of the page.
Even in
of
something
a subordinate
like
part
that,
of a
which is-
sequence, implying a gradual change. Like
It's
a film
built
clip.
for us to maybe
First, second, third,
pretend
we
that
start
we're
to get the
walking
time
into
involved
this
in that.
makeshift
Too many, we are aware of
temporary
looking at one,
setting,
two, three, four, five,
and
suddenly we
we're
feel
looking at two
time,
things. We're
even if
looking
it's very
at
short
cat and we're looking
time,
at
and we
car.
start to feel that it's some.
Which you told us
should be
very
something
accurately.
narrative.
And even though it's not
And
your
then
work,
density via airspace.
you could very
spaces,
easily make
and
this
look at what
part of your
Harabaki
work.
would mean.
you
Harabaki
could take it
choose
that
favorite
one
book,
step further and think about
choose favorite
what
book.
materials would you
Harabaki.
use.
So
What-
density.
One thing would you have on this side, or one thing would you have on this side.
I can look at it. A little tiny bit.
Any comments on the cat car? Did anyone take any photographs of the cat car?
We don't know
Yeah,
what
KK
is
cat
it.
car? It's actually KK cat car. Actually. That's how
No, it's I just wondering if anyone
Cute,
just also
like so
find
weird,
us
so-
when we're here around here.
There we are. There we are. So that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of feel like I want to go back and count them all.
Yeah. Or thank you.
It looks like it
look
could
at
move
that.
as well. It looks like it could move
Balance.
across. Whether it can or not, it looks
Do you can do, but
it's very good. I mean, that's the
Don't
benefit
necessarily.
of being in this room and being together.
yeah.
Even
And
though
she was
perhaps
saying,
we weren't
always
meant to
saying
spot
that
that,
she
it's
was
trying
trying
to
to
give,
put too much
I have
energy,
time.
too much
Because of the
material
nature of
on
the way that they're working,
all the time. Try to cover
we
it
can
in
elevate
space
that into a
equally.
very
You
important
end up with this kind
moment. We can
of
catch that
nervousness
moment
for
because
kind of a
you catch it.
leaving a little.
And it's
sort of
always
element.
about taking the things that we see seriously. Okay? So it's not really about coming to this lesson and thinking, oh, I need to do my research journal, and sitting down and printing your pictures and sticking them in and filling it up.
And
It's about
also
this,
we
it's
talk
about the
balance.
dialogue, it's
It
about
doesn't
thinking about
have
why we did these things in the first
symmetry,
place.
but it's a kind of dynamic.
Does that make sense?
I would say, rather than
Yeah.
boom, everything's fixed. You know, it's a very naive,
My queen.
initial baby,
My
stage,
queen.
embryonic
She's back.
attitude to composition.
Zaya, this was from the,
symmetry.
uh,
Yes,
yeah,
we used it.
the exhibition the week before, yeah?
You know,
And you took this?
so avoid,
What
we
is,
don't
what
need
is
to.
missing piece?
So also you can repeat compositional page structures in the portfolio to type pages together. It might be a very different content.
Oh, this, oh, I see this here, yes,
You kind
yes,
of
yes,
repeat
yes.
The kind of the
Yeah.
pattern of the
Oh, that's
overall
great.
pattern of the
Yeah,
page.
I actually
To tie them
focused
together. So things
Mm.
that
my,
isn't so
and I
obvious
asked, why are you
very linked in our
looking
minds because the pages appear to, for a little period, the pages appear to quite similar in the portfolio. It might not be like a bright purple background, but much more compositionally you know, it might be that white background all the time, but the compositions start to be similar, then
But
we start to think, they
why
meet
is-
up, even though
why
it
is that
might
like
be
that?
not so clear.
No.
Or they would give a very different impression.
It is.
So
Everything is.
avoid too
And
much
one of the
to
best
read on
things about
individual pieces.
our subjects
As we have seen
is that
before.
we
Don't-
can make
it doesn't
all of the
need to be,
decisions.
and especially when you have the
And when we
report, you need
see
to
the work
go
of someone
through
like
the
this,
information as well.
we accept all of those decisions.
So,
But also,
So,
we can
main
contemplate
ideas, what is
whether
the
it's
project
deliberate
versus an
or it's down
individual
to
project aims?
the life of the
We talk about
material,
headings, we
or
talk
something
about
that's happened to the
quotations,
material. You know,
we talk about
the
keywords,
shoes that
for
need to be
example.
washed or cleaned after they've been tread through excrement. I don't want to keep coming back to that. You know, that could be ripped off, it could be designed within
It can be good. You
So
can
all these
have
things
things
like that
together,
as well,
but
you
you
know, we're
can,
not-
like
we're
without
not
saying it,
expected to
yeah,
work
it
with
can become a kind of new
conventional
chapter in the
formats.
portfolio, and the kind of
conventional
and
shapes,
people
conventional
quite
sizes.
similar. It doesn't have to be the
That's
whole
really
portfolio,
important.
you know, then it gets
I'm
incredibly
really
boring.
glad
But
you
we
showed
might
this
go
side.
through that. You have
Really
some,
good.
you know, big things happening, and then you have some smaller that are.
John,
yeah,
you are
maybe
looking
some
intensely
that are a bit more analytical,
on the side there. You're sort of at a sort of
position,
30, 40
kind of
degree angle,
being
looking
the same,
on an
similar,
angle there.
or kind of
What are you sort of
internally
taking in
referencing
at the
without
moment? What are you
kind of
capturing?
strong colour or something having a massive kind of we are getting that saying now it's this, now it's this, now it's that. It's much more about
The first
our,
thing-
you
And
know,
the material, what they
intuitive
use,
sort of tie things
even,
together that
is,
might be,
I know they
you know,
are all
photographs of
silk
different
pieces,
pieces that in reality,
if
otherwise you have to kind of
the
think
the
about what
artist
is
died
this, again,
on
this, but
purpose
you know, might it be a couple of images and a piece of
Did
text,
anyone else
and then,
bring this
and then.
image into the phones? Do you have a capture of this?
Yeah, it's also
Or
Yeah,
another
yeah,
one?
I also
It's
uploaded
also
that.
saying
I have
it's-
another one,
it's
me and
starting
John,
this process.
I uploaded it, I was looking with the
I
same thing.
You're
I
keen?
already
So,
uploaded all
You,
I
the.
will
you just missed us
Go through
because
it with you.
before
I
that,
will have a more of a kind of qualitative
before
moment
that, we
next week
had,
with visuals.
where are we?
We can kind of, we can have a
Yeah, we
little,
went,
I mean, it's.
Why you did that? I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Anything really.
Oh my gosh.
You don't.
So, I took you over, I left you with my
Yeah.
colleague,
So it's very hard on.
and I had to come back, I had a little meeting. And also, I like the idea that I wasn't going in
So-
there with you. And I could see that a lot of you were taking photographs of
So
this.
then you have to make notes.
And that's a really important thing to do.
Notes.
Use your phone as a tool where you're capturing information.
Very
The
good.
difference
Okay,
between
so we
that
talked about
one and that one
I'm sure I've overrun. Oh, we started
Because where we might,
Good.
we might get the name, the title of the exhibition, Quiet Fire. You know,
And
we
you
can talk
also
about
in
art and
the
design.
it's
We
quite a
can
long
talk
time
about
companies that-
art and design properly, and we can refer to names.
Sign up for
We
tutorial.
can refer to
We
artists'
have a little
names,
lunch
we
break.
can refer to materials that we use, we can refer to the title of the exhibition. And that's what we can do with this image. We can always refer back to that exhibition, that moment in time. It's been captured and named. What could we do? What could we do with this?
That's my purpose was not taking picture of the exhibitions.
No, I think
but
it's open. I
here,
can check. Yeah,
because it was funny to see posture to like looking seriously, so I wanted to make a fun of it.
Yeah. And this is, yes.
Yeah, that's why.
It might be that.
How do you
Oh my
feel?
God, did you see what how uploaded?
Yeah, yeah, we all see it, actually.
We've been doing this for many years.
My phone charger got dead and I went to bring my charger, so that's why I'm late. But I'm
Oh, it
just,
is? Oh, no,
I don't know, how did you know this app, how? What's
Oh,
that
that's
app?
us. Yeah, right. Okay.
David is a sad face, Hugh is a smiling face.
Happy vibes.
I feel like I'm sort of I'm doing a lot of like organizing of our collective work here. Does anyone want to sort of pick something to talk about? Because we've got quite a lot now. That's good.
My fingerprint is here. Don't remember. Don't remember that because
I spent a long time this week
trying to forget.
trying to remember, trying to write about it, trying to get to the stage where I can kind of work out for myself what was going on, because very similar to horror vacui, which is what KK was talking about right at the beginning of the session, we have human impulses that are, for better or worse, designed away from us,
Yeah.
and that's one of them. You know, you can touch whatever you want. Oops, sorry. You can't touch whatever you want because the coffee's on the floor. But so you can't touch whatever you want. Be very careful with what you touch. But it was just that impulse, and your impulse was not a problem. knowing what you were looking at, knowing what you were searching for, that's what we want. And that's the moment where we start to realise that the research journal is not about printing things out and sticking them in, it's about finding aspects of why we've done things that help us understand. Because that was a huge moment for me, because you talk to Frederick and he's very happy for people to pick things up and show them and turn them round, and coming from an architectural background, that's his attitude. But me, coming from a fine art perspective, I'm much more with Boris standing there looking at it, reading. That's much more, hands behind the back. Yeah. Eyes open, hands behind the back, maybe taking photographs, maybe taking notes. But the idea that the print in this case could be touched, and you very quickly said, no, I was there, and you can't think, it's almost like you were in the
And I saw your face.
I was like, ah!
You see, in the same way as like the cat car is not a sculpture that we would buy and sell at sort of high value places. That print is kind of somewhere in the middle, it's a regional photographic exhibition within an arts festival, but it now has your mark on it.
Yeah.
And rightly or wrongly, the reason that you took yourself to do that is what I think it's a really good example of what we mean by research. Because you do something, you see something, and then you do something with that. Okay, so we're not practicing research, we're not making a scrapbook. We're thinking about what happens to us, what we see, what we read, what we look at, and how we can make, as you say, Yuki, how we can make those connections.
Yeah.
Okay? And so your research journals should all start from the same experience, last week the 3 exhibitions, but you should all take them in very individual directions. Okay?
Yeah.
I can't remember where my watch is. I'm
God.
Look, it's gone.
Oh, you
Okay.
I couldn't find it this morning. I don't know where it is. I literally,
no.
it's literally don't know where it is. Here you are again. That's quite interesting.
Oh, that's me there.
Yeah, that is why I'm calling
Is it
you
wrong?
Wing when you get back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
It's like
We're talking about
It's quite
Oh,
She
the
looks so
color.
The little girl who's waiting to get home.
quite revealing.
Hey.
you just post this.
Quite revealing though. Quite a revealing image.
Yeah, look, these are hugging, and I'm like,
There is some black
Who's this?
creature.
Who's photograph?
strange.
Me.
It's yours.
May.
Mate, well, mate.
Yeah, that's my
Oh,
name.
sorry, mate. Sorry, I was just looking at the photograph. I
A
forgot.
mouse of a May.
Ah. Very nice. What do we think about this?
Color.
Yeah. What do we think?
Table.
Does anyone really want to sit there?
No.
Why not? What?
because it's too
Yeah.
down to the floor, maybe. Too
It's
exposed.
It looks dirty.
Too eye-catching.
it's so. I think, is anybody of a different view? Does anyone say, well, you probably would?
I want meant to be like a friends should sit together and
Yeah.
hugging, but no one's sitting there. Instead of they standing and sitting other places.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
Look,
looks like it doesn't make any purpose. Like it's lost their purpose.
It's really uninviting, but we all can see chairs. We can all see table. You're absolutely right. Look at the height of the table. Look at the height of the chairs.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing, you're either down too low or you're perhaps too far away from where you need to be. And nothing could go in the middle of that table. And it's a really good capture made because you've got people sitting in shelter. You've got people sitting in sort of like these kind of repurposed caravans in shade, private spaces, and you've got people connecting there. And what it does do is show us this huge absence in the middle of the photograph.
That's meant for connection. That's not being used.
It's huge. Now, we won't talk about Roland Barthes today, okay? But you could talk about where's the main focus of the photograph? Where are we meant to be looking? And we would say, well, we're looking here. But we're not, are we? We're looking at that person there, who's kind of blending back into the caravan part. But the main focus are these two characters here, and it's caught so well because it's right on the edge, almost like they're about to be moved out of screen, or perhaps beyond it. There are more people doing this, but what there is not is the use of this. And it's such a powerful thing because they're so simply made. They're so sort of primary colours. They're dirty. They're almost like apologies for seating. It's like sorry as a seating. But that's kind of what is that designed or is that accidental? Is like the cat car, like is the badly made humour, the kind of put together with bits of wheels and bits of wood, is that kind of like the style of the place? Because it's not a permanent place. It's not like there's a caravan site in the middle of Brighton, but it's made to look like it's been there for a long time and the things are old and badly made, badly painted, and perhaps falling apart. Which is quite interesting. But at the same time, you could, if you wanted to, you could sit there. May's gone.
Oh, no.
We have to let's find something that's lovely there.
There's a video.
Yeah, we've had a look at this. I mean, this was from.
That was so interesting for me. Why is David looking at him like that? like he's looking. Why are you laughing at you?
How? So tell us. What are we looking at here?
Because I spent so long time to try to teach David how to smile, but he still can't get it. Yeah.
Oh,
I always when I found the pictures, and I always send a message to David, why you still keep this face? Yeah. Yeah.
Because so he's trying to like make you see how much your face looks sad face. You're not smiling, so he's proving it.
Because I rarely upload my smiling face in social media, so how?
Yeah, I always found just David without smile.
Yeah.
And so the sort of the metrics or the numbering, are those what are they measuring in that case? Is it a program that you've made?
Yeah, no. It's a program they already built, but I don't think it's just for fun. Yeah, yes, same. Yeah.
Very interesting. I think that's like, I know we can look at this.
Obviously you would say.
I think it's measuring stuff like that. It's measuring your face muscles. Like if it's like.
Yeah, I think for the sake of me and David, I think we'll move on. It's just because there's loads. I have more questions about this
Face.
These numbers. Face 0.99. What does that mean? Happy 0.75. So, like I said, everything we do as artists and designers, we have to take a face value. Okay, we have to see what those decisions have led to, and then every time we show our work, we leave that open. But that would be the first question. How accurate is that? Because if there's some kind of metrics behind it, if there's some kind of algorithm, let's see how far we can use it.
Why?
Late.
No, I'm sorry, but how? Okay, it makes me laugh. He said, I'm trying to tell David that your face looks sad, but he don't get it, so I put him in the picture.
Trying to prove it.
Let's prove it. Who made that?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Do it, boys.
So the hardest question to answer is, how does it relate to your project? To get to that question, answer this. How do you relate to it?
Relate to
This exhibition, Parachute?
so basically when I see it, it's like because like I have a lot of good moments with my friend in Cambodia, you know, stuff. We always go out, we always do stuff together. So some of the picture when I see it, it's kind of remind me of what I used to do, what I did when I was back then. Like it's like the memories. It's like it was like I was there, you know, with them, like experiencing the moment. So even though it's not me in there, but something that I used to experience similar to that, you know.
That's an excellent example of what the research journal needs to be. All right? I think the reason why we can do this now is because I asked you that question, Boris, and you gave me the answer. And if I look for that answer on your page, I don't have that answer. I don't have what you gave me there.
Yeah.
Okay? And the hardest thing sometimes when we're doing our research is to realize that what we think, what we connect in those moments, to use your phrase, capture that moment. When that moment is captured, we feel something so intensely, so vividly, that's what we're connecting to.
Yeah.
So it's always those moments. And not even as a, architecture, urban design, you can look at photographs and you can reconnect with other places, other times in your life, which is a really powerful thing. That's the first part. How does it affect your project? That's perhaps the next step. And it does take us time to work out what the influence is and what the inspiration is, but it is there.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you thought about, because you're connected to, the word emotion is not the feeling emotion. You know? Nobody has an emotion when you hear me say emotion.
Yeah.
So the word and the experience are different. And how do you use that within architecture? How do you get this experience that you've got from photography and use that as an influential aspect for architecture or architectural practice?
That's quite hard to think about it. But like I did find like a building in America which like they build it up according to the memories that what's going on. It's like there's like a school shooter event going on there, so they build up like some sort of museum or something that reminded like the victim parents or people there about like the sad event that happened. So every time people go to that place, they actually feel emotions or feel or know like what's going on there. So yeah.
And that's like, if you imagine that there's 2 pages within your journal, maybe the one page is this, and then next to it is split into your recollection of how this made you feel and connect to other times and places in your life, and then you take that forward and you introduce the precedent that you just mentioned. Okay, and it's that link that you're allowed to make within your research journey. Okay, things don't have to be rigidly connected. They can be very distant connections. They can be very close connections. But I think you've done it there, Boris. That was very good. I thank you for sharing that with us as well. It's always a difficult thing for us when we receive the research journals because you're never there. Always make sure that everything that you felt and everything that you want to say is on paper, okay? Because that's what it's about. It's about that transfer of experience, okay? It's not about the production of the object. Okay, Boris, can you ask somebody else to sort of highlight something for us? Don't know who you're going to ask. Up to you.
Like ask about what you...
Well, you can choose somebody that we can go to for a bit of a...
Like any photos?
Yeah, which one? Which one for you? Where do we go? There's a lot now.
Let's choose the one that KK is sitting down over there.
This one?
Yeah. Just curious what she's thinking, about the situation.
I have a really bad face. Just like, I don't know why she captured that. But I actually am quite happy though when I was like sitting over there.
That's why I captured it.
Yeah, but my face is look like
No, I captured
Oh.
two.
Oh,
I
two?
don't know why this one is
Like with her face.
See, I have two.
I can tell she's happy.
Yeah, like everyone is walking and she's
That's why I
sitting.
captured because
in the middle.
I saw you happy. Let me show you why I captured this at the beginning. She was very keen to see what's inside.
well, I look like yeah.
And so there's the person who had the experience of being photographed, and there's the photographer. So there's two of you here that are present in this piece. And the questions we asked to Doris was, what were you feeling at that time? What connections were you making, either being photographed or photographing, and how do you make the steps towards your project? Whether that be to do with the movement of people or ideas about legitimate activity, illegitimate activity. There's some really interesting things there, I think, for both of you to think about. I didn't go on the. Is it a ride? What is it? How would you describe it? What word would you use? The piece, the sculpture, the
Platform.
the platform. It's not a ride. It's not a.
Like a moving
It's a
platform.
moving sculpture. I stood outside the experience, on the periphery, if you will. And David and I were talking about the sort of nature of designing something for people that need shelter, that need very basic things. And I'm thinking that, Joachim, you would have a sort of approach to this as well, where the Brighton Festival is fun, it's exciting, it's art, it's entertainment, it's free mostly, but you're designing for something that has a serious edge to it, which is great, and so are you, David. So how do you respond to something that's asking us to have fun, asking us to have an experience? Is it that the people that you're designing for aren't allowed to have that experience? Or are they needing certain things to be in place before they can have this?
Exactly.
So how do you respond to this object? How does it function for you as a design student?
Actually, you mean as like in this photo?
Yeah. Well, this photo, but expanded out to Groundswell. The experience itself. How do you use the experience that you could see, you could go on, you could photograph? How does it influence your project or your thinking about your project?
Okay. When we were talking, walking about this Brighton Festival and stuff, and I saw a lot of different cultures in this festival, a lot of different nations like Asian, Arabs, stuff. But all of these cultures are in this frame. Are just they having fun. It's no matter where you're from or what you're doing or what's your culture. We're just having fun. This game is playing around. These small balls are just going. Chi-Chi is forgetting about everyone and she starts to fill out the balls. That's what makes me feel like sometimes people just go back to their nature of human being. Like we forgot all of the limits that we made throughout the years. Like you're from blah, I'm from blah. We are humans. They start to interact. They start to play. They start to use the festival as a place to have fun. And somehow it's related to my thing, because my thing is a lot of different culture in a different culture. A lot of interaction between different nations. The thing is, as you said before, the only thing in my case that I need to provide some stuff, it's more important for them, and then I make them interact. But the thing is, this festival just bring me the feeling of the friendly, the welcoming. Like I'm trying to welcome you in this place. I'm trying to tell you, come inside. And this is what we need. In my case, I need to make people to feel welcome, to feel like this is their place, to feel something cozy. Like when we was going here, I wasn't gonna go up, but I see the girl, the woman, she said, come on, and I was like, okay, you know, that's what makes me so the welcoming.
That's a lovely sort of telling of the story there. That come on. What does it look like? We know what it could look like in a sort of human form, but what does it look like in built form? You sat in a little repurposed caravan. That invited you to sit inside. That welcome you felt and you did yourself. So we're both in front and behind of the camera. We're both participating in our project and participating in the world. So there's always this oscillation, always this back and forth. Okay, because I think you found what you're looking for in KK. I think you found in maybe other photographs that other people have taken of you when you're in that setting, which is really good. I don't know what that gesture, come on, looks like. What does it look like? That's a building, but that's a very good way of describing your project. Where are we going next? You have something you want to... It can't just be me, can it? Come on. Where are we going?
Maybe this man.
This one here.
Yeah, this is good.
Is it Tintin? Is it?
Yeah.
Is this yours? So this was, well, it's is it a problem that it's not part of the Brighton Festival? It's not one of those 3 exhibitions that we saw?
No.
Absolutely not. The fact it's on this Padlet allows us to look at it, discuss it. It's not in the research journal. We realise that the research journal is, it's still, for some of us, it's still in production. But today we're looking at the connections, why we take the photographs we take, why we find certain things interesting. And then the next step is what influences or inspirations have we got from taking those images. Tintin, tell us what.
Actually, I'm not sure that's a part of our festival. I don't know. But actually, I hate this festival season. I don't like festivals too noisy and crowded. So that's why I avoided with your lecture together going to exhibition. But it was last Sunday. Sharon asked me go to the beach together, and then I found that event, and then I think I started to interest in festival. So
because this one's like past.
Yeah.
That's why
You were interested.
she avoided the thing and she go with her interest. That's what we all like.
Yeah. Go follow your own path. I think looking at the Padlet, we've all got very similar images because we were all at the same exhibitions, and that's where your own individual responses, your own individual connections, that's what the research is. I don't want to look at 10 pages of parachute. I will look at 10 pages of parachute, but I want to look at your individual constructions of that, not as printed material on paper, but as moments that you are working with, ideas that have come from that experience. And this is equally the same thing. I have a question. What's his name?
I forgot. He told me. You remember just Ben or Ken or
Jennifer or
yeah.
Ben or
Reminds me of David's interviews in the first project, where you interviewed someone and they were also called David.
Yes. No. It's David. I don't interview him, but I interview other ones.
That's right. Do you remember there was somebody there? that's what we're doing. This is Jeff or Ben, or we don't know, but it's it's Ken, Ben, Jeff. I mean, he's really happy.
Yeah, he talked to us for like 10 minutes about the car.
He likes his car.
Yeah, and that's you know.
Do you know there's a really strong connection between the person and his car or his ride? Yeah.
What are we gonna?
So many stickers.
He collected them like every year for the Brighton London Festival for the birthday of the Mini Cooper.
They drive from London to Brighton. It starts. It's every Sunday. So if you're around the main roads into Brighton, you'll see long lines of cars driving in, London to Brighton, and they'll be advertised as well. It won't just be Mini Coopers. It'll be other cars as well, vintage cars, classic cars, all sorts of things.
And every Sunday.
Every Sunday, and they park on that promenade every Sunday. It might not be every Sunday, but I think it's regularly now from May through to the summer.
Cooper
So,
is an English car, right?
Okay, then
so why?
this Sunday I can check another car.
Germany, but it's like it's invented here. It's English.
Oh,
Mini
really?
Cooper is an English car.
I think
Yeah,
it's Mini
it's-
Cooper and this one
Question mark?
Mini Cooper
Cooper
is
is
German.
German?
I thought it was an English car. Like is it like a brand?
England car is a Land Rover.
Land Rover.
Land Rover.
Land Rover.
Land Rover or
Range
Range
Rover.
Rover?
Range Rover.
And
Range Rover.
Jaguar.
Range Rover.
Range Rover.
No, guys, can't be.
No, I remember. It's
Mini Cooper
German.
is must be English.
No.
Really?
Mini, first it's Volkswagen
So-
and Mini Cooper. It's like how can I say,
But they
Merc,
do it here.
No, they don't do.
I think
It's
it started in
British.
British.
British!
It started
Oh, really?
Yeah!
But the company sold to German sometime and
Yeah, maybe
It's
it's like
It's German.
maybe
But
they
it's
take
owned
over,
by
you know.
like BMW, it's Germany. But
It's-
the car is-
It's owned by a German company, but it's an English car. See?
Very, very good.
Yeah, Mini Cooper is very British. Do you now remember the vintage one that has the British signature flag on it?
The sign flag and the roof. of
And the
car.
roof.
Yeah.
You don't know this car? It's the first car.
It's
Or
my
like
favorite
the
car
real
as well.
old-
I think the best thing to do is save any chats about cars for Frederick's time.
You don't like cars?
It's difficult to answer a question that's do I like or do I not like.
You like to
Useful
walk off
term.
more
I
often.
know, I know.
As long as it
I don't think anyone doesn't like.
I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean,
We don't care.
it's like
No, but there's some people like to walk.
a chance.
you kind of, you kind of want to be, Ken, Jeff. You want to be the guy that's
yeah.
guy or girl. Actually, you want to be the person that's as proud as anything. You want to be the person that's collecting all those stickers.